Imagine looking up at the sky and knowing there is a 120,000-ton flying aircraft carrier hovering at the edge of the stratosphere, silently coordinating a swarm of autonomous, artificial intelligence-driven drones. It sounds like the opening scene of a blockbuster sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But what if I told you that the underlying technologies for this exact scenario are not only real, but are actively driving the military strategies of the world's greatest superpowers?
It is a terrifying yet utterly fascinating reality. We are standing at the precipice of a new era in warfare, one where the ultimate high ground of space converges with the cold, calculating logic of autonomous machines. Today, we have to unpack three distinct phenomena that are colliding in real time. First, the aspirational megaweapons, like China's Luanyao concept. Second, the very real, operational infrastructure of the United States Space Force and Space Command. And third, the rapid proliferation of lethal autonomous weapon systems, or laws.
Exactly. Let's define that first link. The Luanyao, part of China's Nantianmen project. On paper, it's a 100,000-ton airspace mothership carrying 88 unmanned fighters, fusion reactors, and particle beams. Now, physics dictates that a vessel heavier than an American supercarrier cannot simply float in the upper atmosphere. But there is a deeper layer here, isn't there? It started as an aviation-themed science fiction IP for public outreach, yet state media eventually framed it as a forward-looking military roadmap.
That is the brilliance of it. It's aspirational futurism. Even if the Luanyao itself is physically impossible right now, the components it represents are very real. Hypersonic glide vehicles, high-powered lasers, and drone swarms are all operational or in late-stage testing. When you look at this through a pestle analysis, the political and technological dimensions are glaring. Politically, it serves as domestic propaganda to project strength and international deterrence. Technologically, it signals a clear intent. The future of conflict relies on the seamless integration of air and space power.
Which brings us perfectly to our second link, the United States' actual functioning space military apparatus. There is often confusion between the Space Force and Space Command. But if we apply the McKinsey 7S model to this, the distinction becomes crystal clear.
Spot on. In the McKinsey 7S framework, the Space Force represents the staff, the skills, and the structure. It is the branch that organizes, trains, and equips the personnel. They build the tools. Space Command, on the other hand, executes the strategy and manages the systems. They are the combatant command running the day-to-day operations, like tracking retaliatory missiles in the Middle East using infrared satellite beams. The shared value between them is absolute dominance of the orbital high ground, ensuring that adversaries cannot blind military communications or disrupt the global economy.
So, we have the aspirational space carriers, and we have the operational space commands. Now, let's introduce the third, and frankly, the most chilling link: lethal autonomous weapons systems. We aren't talking about a Roomba that bumps into walls. We are talking about systems capable of understanding higher-level intent, navigating combat environments, and deciding who to kill without human intervention.
The distinction is vital. A landmine or a close-in weapon system like the Phalanx operates on a lizard brain principle, action and reaction. It just responds to a trigger. But true autonomous weapons, like the Kargu, 2 drone or long-range anti-ship missiles, use complex algorithms to select targets. They recalculate routes to avoid radar. They hunt specific profiles, and they do it in swarms. When you have 50 drones communicating with each other, deciding formations and targets on the fly, the human operator is entirely removed from the decision-making loop.
And that creates a massive accountability gap. If an autonomous drone misinterprets data and targets civilians, who is to blame? The commander? The programmer? The machine itself? It's a legal and ethical nightmare. But this is where we have to state the new nature of these combined links. What happens when you merge the concept of orbital motherships, the operational reality of Space Command, and the unyielding logic of AI kill swarms?
The new nature of these combined links is the total automation of the orbital high ground. We are moving toward a reality where space is not just a vantage point for observation, but an autonomous launchpad for localized, algorithmic warfare. Let's analyze this combined reality using Porter's 5 forces. The rivalry among existing competitors, namely the US, China, and Russia, is at a fever pitch, driving a massive arms race. The threat of new entrants is accelerating because commercial space companies are lowering the cost of orbital launches. Meanwhile, the threat of substitute products is shifting from traditional kinetic warfare to cyber and electronic warfare aimed at blinding these autonomous networks.
That's a volatile mix. If we look at this through the MOST framework, mission, objectives, strategy, and tactics, the mission of these superpowers is unchallenged supremacy across all domains. The objective is to establish permanent footholds, like lunar bases, while securing satellite networks. The strategy involves merging AI with aerospace technology, and the tactics are the deployment of self-guiding, swarming munitions that can strike from the edge of space before human diplomacy can even intervene.
And that speed is exactly why the human is being removed from the loop. In a hypersonic war, a human commander simply cannot react fast enough. Let's run this through a SWOT analysis. The strengths of this combined space AI integration are unprecedented reaction times and absolute precision. The opportunities lie in deterrence. If your autonomous orbital defense is impenetrable, adversaries won't attack. But the weaknesses and threats are existential. The weakness is the absolute reliance on fragile software networks that can be hacked. The threat is an unintended flash escalation. If two opposing AI swarms misinterpret each other's movements, they could start a war in milliseconds.
Which leads us right into the noise analysis. Let's break down the needs, opportunities, improvements, strengths, and exceptions of this new autonomous space paradigm. The needs are obvious. We desperately need a legally binding international framework, much like the Biological Weapons Convention, to regulate AI in space. The opportunities are in leveraging these advanced propulsion and AI systems for peaceful deep space exploration, like the Artemis program.
Exactly. And for improvements, we need to close that accountability gap. We must improve the failsafe so that a human always retains a veto over a lethal decision. The strengths, as we mentioned, are the sheer technological innovations, reusable rockets, advanced sensor fusion, and rapid data processing. But the exceptions are what keep military strategists awake at night. What is the exception to the rule? The glitch.
The glitch. Like the reported incident where an autonomous fighter lost contact with ground control and had to be shot down by its own forces. When you have thousands of autonomous weapons networked to a space-based command center, an exception, a misunderstood line of code, a corrupted sensor reading doesn't just mean a crashed drone. It could mean an unprovoked orbital strike.
It is our generation's Oppenheimer moment. We are building systems that we do not fully understand, placing them in an environment we cannot easily reach, and giving them the authority to make life and death decisions. The Nantium project might be science fiction today, but the philosophy behind it is already orbiting above our heads. We are creating a permanent autonomous sword of Damocles.
It is a profound shift in the human experience. For thousands of years, warfare was intimately, tragically human. It was driven by human emotion, executed by human hands, and limited by human endurance. Now, we are outsourcing the ultimate authority of survival to algorithms housed in the cold vacuum of space.
And the most philosophical question we have to ask ourselves is this. If we build a flawless autonomous defense network in space, one that is perfectly capable of fighting and winning wars without us, what exactly is our role in the future we are trying to protect? Are we the masters of this new domain, or simply the biological ancestors of the machines that will inherit it?
That is the thought we will leave you with today. As we look up at the night sky, it is no longer just a canvas of stars and peaceful exploration. It is a highly contested, increasingly autonomous frontier. The balance of power is shifting from the Earth to the orbit, and from the human mind to the artificial. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sky and keep questioning the future.